Hey guys, I'm Alex from Zaxwerks, and welcome back to part 2 in creating wireframe materials inside of 3D ProAnimator. Alright, so in this tutorial we're going to learn a couple advanced techniques on creating some reflection onto your material, on creating thicker materials, on making different lines, different colors, and adding some pictures onto the wireframe material itself. So this is really interesting, very cool looking stuff, a little advanced, but it's really easy to do. Let's just follow along and you'll learn how to do everything very quickly. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to show you that this is just a material, right? Okay, so if I want to change the words or text or font, very easy. So all I have to do is double click, and inside of our text edit window, all we have to do is change the font. So I'm just going to change this black oblique instead, and then click OK, and we get a whole different look extremely quickly, right? All real time, very fast. Our material updated for us along with our material splits. Very cool. The next part I want to do is I want to make the lines different colors, the vertical different from horizontal. So what I'll do is I'll double click on this material right here to load it into our material editor over here, and then I'm going to double click on our grid editor to open up the grid editor. Good, now all I have to do is click on this color right here to change the horizontal lines. I want to change it to sort of a gold color instead. Let's find a color I like. Good. And now we have different colored horizontal lines than vertical. If I click OK, we see that they are applied instantly to our words. Cool. Now, however, I want both lines to be the same color, just for this example. So I'll double click, change our blue or our turquoise back to gold by using our eyedropper, click OK, and everything updates as well. Cool, so that's the first thing we're going to do. So now when we zoom into our object, we can see that we have this cool gold material on the front, and we have this blue material going around the sides. And that's the other cool part about this, is that the material outlining the edges of our object does not have to be the same color. So what I can do is I can double click on this blue and open up this base color and then change it around. So I can have just maybe a straight white color. Let's make that straight white, and it gives us a really cool outline, and it actually makes it a lot easier to read when I zoom back here. Look at that, much easier to read now. Very cool. Okay, so now once again I'm going to load up my wireframe material, and then in here I want to show you how to add a reflection map to this material. So what I'll do is I'll click on this thumbnail right here, reflectivity, and then I'll come over to, let's find our resource files and find our field airport pano. This is our reflection map, comes with the program, but I also included it in the resource files in a link below this video. So go download that real quick if you don't have it already. Good. Now the next step is to add a reflection map. So we have the map included here. All we have to do now is turn up the reflectivity, and we'll see now when we come through here, we have this cool reflection through our object. Look at that. Very cool. You'd never get this with wireframe before, and now you can. Very cool. Look at that. Let me move in. We can see some cool reflections going through our object. Okay, and once again, if you want more or less reflectivity, just adjust the slider right here. Okay, so now that we have that, I want to show you how to change some of the lines around. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come back up to my grid editor, open this guy up, and I'm going to mess around with the spacing. And so when I decrease the amount of spacing, you'll see we'll get more lines. And when I go down to something like this, we'll get more lines, and it'll be easier to see the reflections on our text. So what I can do, I can turn it down to something like 2.7, click OK, and now we have way more lines, and this is a very cool look that goes through our text. Look at that, and our reflections show up a lot more. It's a lot easier to read, and it looks really cool. Okay, look at that. Good. The next thing I want to do is I want to show you how to add an image onto this, guys. So the first thing we're going to have to do is load in our image by clicking on this plus button and then opening up, oh whoops, wrong one, open up color into image, and this will give us a little pop-up guy, and we'll select our rainbow image. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure right now that our image is just a background image, right? But I want the same grid to be cut out of that image. So all I have to do is select this RGB channel right here, hold and press Command C on a Mac or Control C on a PC, and then come over to our alpha channel and do Command V on a Mac or Control V on a PC, and boom, then I delete my gold, and now we get this cool, awesome reflection with our rainbow material put on our object. Remember, you can put any picture you want on this word. I just happen to use this rainbow picture because it looks pretty dang cool. The next step is that this material right here is being applied to each letter individually. However, I want it to be applied to the entire word at one time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change our mapping to front, and then select yes, and that applies it to the entire front. However, now I still have scale turned on, right? This map is not tileable. So what I have to do is I have to reset our scale and then come into our alpha grid and let's reduce, I'll hit cancel. Let's come over here to our alpha grid and take our transform and reduce the transform to something like 30% or so. Click OK, and now we have our one map across the entire material with smaller lines, just like that. Look at that. Very cool. All right. And we have our white outline that makes it look awesome. So once again, this was very easy to do. Makes it look really cool extremely quickly. Okay, good. Now, the next part of this, we have a cool material with a reflection map and our colors, but what I want to do is I want to make it a little more legible and easier to read. So how I'm going to do that, let's turn on auto render. So we're going to zoom in here, and what we can do is we can look at this guy right here. You see how you can see the front side and the back side of each object. Look, it makes it a little hard to read, right? Okay, well, what all this is happening is that you have a front side and a back side, and the objects are hollow in between. This is okay. This creates fewer polygons, makes it faster to render. However, all we want to do is turn off the back sides. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over, make sure our object is selected, come over to our object controls, and turn off back face. And now, when I zoom out, it makes it a lot easier to read, and you don't have the back face applied. Look at that. However, there is one problem. I will tell you one problem. What the one problem is when we come to the back side, we have no back face turned on. This makes it, if you want to see the back side of your object, this makes it impossible to do so. However, I have another trick for you. And what this is going to be is it's going to be a very cool hidden line. This is what it's called, hidden line versus wireframe. What we're going to do, we're going to turn back on our back face, then we're going to duplicate our object, and we're going to apply a matte color onto that. So let's come up to Edit, Duplicate. Make sure our object is a little bit smaller than our big object. Make it sort of sit on the inside by changing our depth to like 7 or so. And now come over to a material editor, make a new material, add a matte color, and apply that matte color to the docks 1 and 2. Boom, and just like that, now we can go all the way through our object, and we can always see the front side, but we can never see the back side of our objects. We can't ever see through our objects, right? Very cool. And that's it. Look how easy that was. We got a very cool look extremely quickly. Best part is you can change the background color, and you can still see through your objects. Notice you can see the whites through your object. Based on what you want to do with this. Maybe you want to render this out and put this in Photoshop or After Effects or do whatever you want. Or if you're in After Effects, you can have that as well. So very cool look, very easy. I can turn this back to black and see what that looks like. Okay, so the last thing I want to do before I let you guys go is show how to rotate this material on the object. So I'm going to go ahead, select my text block 1, come down to material dock 1, and then show you guys this rotation. And as I rotate this guy, you can see the whole guy rotates. Very cool look, very awesome. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to rotate it to be sort of parallel to my text now because I'm using an italic font. And now as I come through here, it gives it an extra cool look, and we can take a look at this guy. Look at that. Okay, and so if you want to you can change the scale a little bit now, make it a little thicker or thinner, totally based on what you want to do with your designs. Cool, so that's it for this advanced tutorial. Hope you learned how to create some cool wireframe looks. Hope you use them in your projects. Hope you let us know how it goes. I am Alex, and I'll see you next time.